Hey, sorry for the interruption, but we wanted to let you know that this week's episode is brought to you by Spotify for Podcasters. Really cool app. Josiah and I use it for every single show that we bring to you every week. You can edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so you can start creating as soon as you log into the platform. You can easily distribute your podcasts to Spotify and everywhere else the podcasts are heard, just like we do every single week. You can also create video podcasts on Spotify, which is really cool. And of course, you can earn money like I'm doing right now by including ads and even podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free. There's no catch. We really love it. We use it every single week. So we encourage you to go download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. All right, let's get back to the show.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular Show.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. And if you can't tell by the title of the show, we are interrupting your regularly scheduled programming in the series that is Print on Demand Cast 101 because we have a guest. And it's a little impromptu, but, you know, that's how things happen here sometimes. It's just organically go with the flow and totally not making it up as we go. So that is in store for today's episode. But before we get there, Travis, how is your Thursday going? We're recording this on a Thursday. How's things been going, and why are you frustrated with that?
I was going to start off with the positive news. And
let's go.
Avalanche.
Go with that. Yes,
Avalanche
we'll go
won
with that.
last night.
Let's start with
overtime.
that. The Avalanche won in overtime, game one of the final series, which I think was 73% of the time. The team that clinches game one goes on to win the cup, which is
it's
great.
Important game.
So we have a birthday party, a birthday dinner, like a family dinner for Madeline Saturday night. And so I had to make sure that the restaurant we were going to has TVs. And she's not too thrilled about that. But it was a non-negotiable on behalf of myself, her father, and her uncles. So it's kind of like, you know. But, yeah, the next games are Monday and Wednesday of next week. So we'll probably be gathering for those because it's a big deal. It's the first time in 20 years we've been in this position. So, but yeah, last night's game was crazy, and we were there.
Yeah,
we're not there. We were at a bar watching, but
yeah, we had a great time. We've got a good group of guys that likes to get together and watch, and you know, everyone from the casual fan to the diehard fan. We were all high-fiving each other when we won and running around the bar like maniacs. It was a good time. Yeah,
my father-in-law looked like he was going to have a coronary. Like he got a piece of Polish sausage lodged in the lining of his heart because he was not doing well. He was so stressed out as it was tied. But, you know, it is what it is. But so, yeah, I referenced it, and I think we're going to do a new segment. We have apparel rants as a thing, but it's the first edition of Equipment Rants. And yes, we have a bumper. Nicely done.
So satisfying.
Yeah. Well, we can't do that with our printer because it's much larger and more expensive. But
for those of you not listening or not watching on the YouTube, that was a scene from Office Space where they destroyed the printer. And it really seems like that would be a heck of a lot of fun to do sometimes.
Yeah. I think I'll make I'll go into Adobe Premiere and make a more sophisticated one that has your face tracking with the people and the thing. So it looks like you're the one swinging the bat. Anyway, a little bit of an ongoing saga with Epson and the 3070s, and today was just another chapter. So, I mean, before we bring on our guest, tell us about it. Tell the listener. I'm here. I've lived it. But tell the listener what exactly has been happening.
Well, you know, between you and me, the listener probably doesn't really give a crap, but
Yeah.
I'll tell the story anyway. So we've had, we bought a 3070, and then What for Apparel had a 3070, and we acquired it as well when we acquired their business and customers and everything. We purchased that from them, and warranty transferred to us. And so we've got two 3070s, and we've had really not very many problems with the first one, the one that we originally bought. The second one, you guys had problems with it back, when it was still at What for Apparel, and had this particular rep out concerning some of some parts and some issues that you had with it. And so we got it, and then the same issues happened, and the tech that came out would fix it, and then he'd say, this is going to keep happening because blah blah blah. The way the track is going on the the print head, what's it called, the carriage, that moves back and forth with the print head, is it basically kind of slowly over time just sinks a little bit, and then what happens is that the print head and the suction caps don't line up, and then the suction caps because of that, they're not being able to be kind of cleaned or stored overnight in a airtight environment to where they won't clog. And so you come back next morning and you have to do a ton of cleanings, and it just gets worse and worse until he comes back and raises or lowers that carriage to where it lines up with those caps again. And he says, this is going to keep happening.
Which is what you want to hear from your Epson rep.
And that's just one of the problems. Then the other machine was giving an error where it would just stop in the middle of a print, and it probably happened once a day. So you got to throw that garment away. You got to restart the machine. It throws off production. Obviously, you lose money on the garment, and we're like, okay, just fix this one issue. And so the guy came out. He tried to fix it. He turns off the machine, turns back on the machine, and it doesn't turn on. He's like, what the heck? So he found out it was a faulty power supply, and it actually has two power supplies. And so he replaced both of them. And then he leaves, and that printer's working. The other one's doing some banding, and we're like, hey, we need, somebody else to come back out and fix the banding. And all banding means is that it just kind of does these light lines through the print sometimes. And it wasn't every single time. It was just sometimes. No. And so, but we're like, we, paid a lot of money for these, make them work. We have a warranty. So they came back out today. He was here, and lo and behold, as he was fixing that, he blew the power supplies in that machine. No idea. I mean, it's an incredible coincidence. We have zero understanding of how this could possibly happen, but he's supposed to come back out tomorrow and try to fix the original thing he was going to fix, as well as do the power supplies, and we'll see if that works. But that is my equipment rant.
Yeah, it's been a process, and what is and what isn't covered in the warranty, and
there's more to it. I'm not going to bore you anymore.
Yeah. Well, this will bring the people back. We have a special guest, a recurring guest. He hasn't been on in a long time, and I don't know why I'm trying to make you all wait with bated breath when you could just read the title, because it's probably there. But for the sake of semantics and theatrics, we're going to build up the tension and say that he is back again to join us, a family member of the podcast, as it were. Everybody's favorite uncle, maybe. Mike is here back on the show, and I threw him in the video before he was prepared.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. If anybody's listening to this, they've locked me in the embroidery room. Yeah. And I need help.
Yeah, we have.
They've only given me water and told me that I have to fix these.
Oh man, Mike's machine's not working. It's really sad.
That's the cool thing about this thing. We were messing with him earlier. He would start talking, and I'd say, "What'd you say?" And then I'd just remove him from the stream, bring him back in, remove him, bring him back in. We have the power, and he doesn't.
He was not reading from his cue cards.
How the turntables.
How the turntables have turned.
I like turntables. So, anyway, what's up, guys?
Mike, welcome back to the Print on Demand cast. It has been a while since you've been on.
Yeah, it has been. I don't even remember the last time, actually.
I don't
so we thought we would kind of we're not really going to do an interview because we've interviewed Mike and talked to him about it, a bunch of things. We thought we'd have more of a discussion this time and just talk a little bit about VAs and consulting and kind of business operations and things of that nature. Partially because we just want to kind of get an update on what Mike's been up to or give the people an update on what Mike's been up to. He's been pretty busy this year with some stuff that we'll get into in his own business. And then the second thing is that we have an announcement actually for Make Your Mark Design. Amy, who's been my business operations manager for 3.5 years now, actually had an opportunity to take another position at a college where they give free tuition to their employees. Right. And she's wanted to go back to school for a long time. So that was part of her decision. I did, try to do my best to keep her. I mean, there's no bad blood or anything. She was actually pretty upset when she told me that she had made this decision because she wants to always be loyal and help others. But sometimes that's at the, detriment of her own well-being. And so this time I even encouraged her. I said, do the thing that's going to make you the most happy. And so she actually put in her 2 weeks last Friday. So she's got another week left here. And so we actually, after talking to Mike, we basically brought him in to kind of be a bridge between where we're at now, take as much knowledge transfer from Amy as possible, and then eventually help us kind of move forward and make a plan moving forward, how we're going to replace the things that Amy's been doing and potentially even combine those tasks with some things that other people are doing here that could potentially be done by other people in other roles. So that's a really long way of saying we just wanted to hang out and talk to Mike for a little bit today on the podcast.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's pretty accurate. But before we get into the conversation, we would be remiss if we did not also include Mike in on this week's weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke. Yeah, I was totally remiss.
You're reminiscent.
I was reminiscent.
All right. Well, Mike, you are the guest here. So go ahead and give us your dad joke this week.
I thought I was the hostage, but okay. All right. So I got one.
Let me remove you.
Yeah. All right, guys. So why did the scarecrow win an award? No ideas?
Don't know.
Nothing?
No idea. Nope.
He was outstanding in his field.
Yeah, that was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that one.
Not bad for 30 seconds of research.
Yeah, that's right. Not bad at all.
We don't have time to do things like that here.
30 seconds or it's not happening.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, that's right. Prom night. Travis.
Yes. All right. Well, the other night we were having family dinner and if you're a longtime podcast listener, I have a lot of kids, so we're all eating together and my kids, they were refusing to eat the leftover tacos that we were having for dinner. So my wife asked me to throw them out. So I did. And now I have no idea what to do with the tacos.
That's awesome. Priority. Tacos over toddlers or children.
I think I want tacos for dinner.
Yeah, not a bad move. Never a bad.
I know Travis has got them now. Just no kids.
Yeah, exactly. Kicked all his kids.
No kids. Come on over.
Well, sounds good. There's a seat at the table.
He had
now.
a lot of kids too. There's lots of tacos. There's lots of food to be eaten there.
Nice.
So, well, here we are, folks. So Travis, let's kind of get into the nitty gritty here, the conversation. I'll let you kind of lead. And kind of give an update, or Mike, if you want to give a quick update of how you've been, how things have been going in the last year.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, Mike's been doing a bunch of really cool things in his business. And so that was one of the reasons we wanted to have him on, just to share kind of what's been happening, because he's really made a huge shift since he sold me the business, and then we had to learn to work together, and that took a while, just figuring out some of the nitty gritty. But now you've had a lot more time to work on the business. I actually got to make a quick phone call, so I'm going to let you guys take it from here for a minute. But Mike, why don't you share like what's been going on in your business?
Yeah, sure. So late 2020, as you guys probably know, if you listen to the podcast, I sold Travis the printing portion of the business. And it's the first time I'd ever done anything like that. First time he had acquired a company like that. And pretty much after we got the transition done, I went home, and with the staff I had remaining, which was, you know, a couple of US people and a couple offshore people, we went, what do we do now? So I'd say 2021 was largely us just figuring out how that relationship should work, as kind of Travis alluded to, just learning the kind of ins and outs of not literally being able to walk down the hall and be like, what happened to this order? You know, now it was,
right,
how do we even communicate? So we set up some communication methods through Microsoft Teams. We, you know, started to work on our processes to be able to provide artwork and, you know, the correct format and everything that they needed, because, you know, up until that point, we hadn't really taken much look at that. You know, kind of the operators used to do a lot of the artwork manipulation straight out of the orders. So this was kind of something different that Travis's operators weren't going to do that. So yeah, we spent most of 2021 just kind of working on that stuff. And we came through Q4 again, 2021. And in 2022, we started to look at really our business as a whole, in the sense that, you know, we had a couple of offshore people, VAs, as you know them, and, you know, a couple of local people that now could work wherever they wanted. They didn't necessarily have to be in an office. So we kind of started to explore the value of VAs, because there was a lot of things that still needed to be done. And a lot of those tasks that, you know, our operators used to do now needed to be done by somebody. And, you know, offshoring and VAs are a pretty cost-effective way to, you know, get things done. I mean, I can hire, you know, 3 people for the price of maybe 1 US person to do things like create the print files and customer service, finance, marketing, and all those things. So that's kind of what we've been working on in 2022, with the ultimate goal of kind of just get more organized, and kind of try to pull me and my existing operations manager out of the sales and Amazon business to be able to work on other projects that we have going on. Kind of that old mantra that goes back to work on your business instead of in your business. So we've built up to about 13 VAs now from 3, which is where I think we were at the beginning of, or the end of 2021. And we're looking to hire 3 more, and I can go into those kind of positions, but the majority of them were working on Amazon listings, growth, flat files. We've hired an ad, and I tried to do ads for a while on Amazon, which I was good at, but I can't do everything. So we ended up hiring an ad guy. We've got an Amazon account manager that's going to start in a few weeks. And I think the next thing that we're trying to bring on is a project manager, which has been a little bit of a difficult hire. Everybody thinks they can manage projects, but we're kind of looking for somebody that has a background in it. Yeah, like, I mean, anybody can manage projects, right? But we're looking for somebody that's got that specific background and that kind of, well, mostly we're looking for certifications, because it shows us that they can do the documentation and everything. So, you know, that's kind of what we've been up to, and I've been looking at doing some more consulting things, which is why I'm sitting in an embroidery room right now in Travis's shop. So,
yeah. Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of the VA thing. I think is really interesting, and I just want, you know, get your feedback on it, get Josiah's feedback on it. I feel like, you know, probably a lot of our listeners are like, we're totally cool outsourcing, you know, maybe some design, you know, if they're like on Merch by Amazon, they're having somebody do some designs for them or whatever, or maybe even, you know, posting their designs for them. But when you get into like some of the quote unquote more difficult tasks, I think that's where, you start seeing some resistance. I mean, I know I have resistance, when we start talking about, well, customer service, and I don't want them to just refund everybody and I'm just losing money, or, resend the product or what, there's got to be I need to be involved in that, or, my books, I need to make sure that, when I see a charge, I know what it is. No one else might know what it is. So they're going to have to ask me anyway. So why don't I just do it? I mean, I think there's a lot of reasons that the resistance comes in. And I know it's, for me, been kind of a reoccurring thing. And I'm very open to relearning that. And that's one of the reasons that you're here, because I've seen the success you've had. And so I want to trust more, I guess, and lean into that a little bit more. But I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on how you overcame that resistance, because I guarantee you had it too, at least in some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, it kind of goes back to, when I started my business, I was doing it out of my house, and someone was like, why don't you hire somebody? And I was like, I don't trust anybody. I'm going to do it myself. No one will ever do it as good as I am. But you know what? I can't do everything. The bigger your company gets, the worse it gets. So, when you had to hire your first employee, it might've been a stranger. It could have been a friend, could have been a family member. So there could have been a level of trust there, but maybe there wasn't. The mental block of, that kind of that trust is just something you've kind of got to work through. I personally kind of looked at it like, okay, I'm insane most of the time. And maybe if I hire somebody, they're going to do it to 80% of the ability that I did, because it's not their business. It's a job for them. They want to make money. They want to go home to their family. They're not going to be, more than likely, they're not going to be over invested. But that was like the first thing I did to kind of get okay with it. So fast forward to VAs, I kind of had the same fear, because these VAs aren't in your office. They exist in the ether, really. They're virtual. So, you always think about the worst things. You're like, oh my God, what if this person like destroys my business, or, runs away with all of my ideas, or, whatnot. And then, you kind of bring yourself back to earth, and you're like, okay, well, what are my options here? Like, I can hire someone in the US to do this and only be able to afford one person instead of three. I can try to do it myself, but whether you realize it or not, a lot of times that does hinder your business, because it's true. You need to work on your business instead of in your business when you get to the point that you can do that.
Yeah.
When you've accepted that level of trust, when you've built good processes and SOPs, and maybe you haven't, then, that's kind of where you start. And that's what we had to do with VAs, because it wasn't like we could just bring them in and be like, hey, come here. Okay, let me show you this thing. No, they're not here. You have to figure out how to communicate with them. The good news is most VAs that you would pick up offshore have worked remotely. So they're familiar with things. And sometimes you can actually like ask them, like, how do you, what's the best way for me to like show, like this is typically an interview question, is like, how do you learn? Like, do you like watching videos? Would you rather have like an 80-page document with screenshots? Like, what do you do? And then you just kind of work off that. So kind of there's a lot of things you can do with VAs. We've kind of pushed the envelope on that and maybe hired for things. And you and I were talking about this, I think yesterday, Travis. I've actually hired an HR person that's in the Philippines that handles my US. And we're in 5 countries right now. So we've got the US, we've got Ukraine, we've got Gibraltar, we've got the Philippines, and we've got Indonesia. So I have people in 5 countries. And so my HR person's job was to start looking at what the work life was like for each of those countries, to make sure that, what we were offering them was reasonable. Just for what it's worth, every country has different holidays. So not everybody celebrates the Independence Day, July 4th here. They have their own. Indonesia, I think, actually has like 30 holidays or something like that. They have an insane amount of days off in that country, but the labor is actually like cheaper there than the Philippines. And it's, it's kind of a, it's, you kind of balance, what you want. So yeah, we hired HR. My HR girl like worked on all of our policies, US based and everywhere else. She's mainly based in the Philippines, and that's where like most of our VAs are. So she's done a whole bunch of stuff like balance out time off. We're looking into offering benefits in the Philippines. So I don't have a physical presence there, but you can offer subsidies, and the way that you can actually create a better value for the VAs in the Philippines if you offer healthcare, because it's very, very important or a healthcare subsidy, because it's very important to them. So they may actually take less pay if you offer healthcare, but the way that it kind of works out is healthcare is actually cheaper than the amount of pay you would pay them in 12, or if you offer the 13th month pay, which is the bonus that people in the Philippines get.
Right.
So it works out being a better value in the long run, and your employees are more invested. They're, the retention is better. We've never actually had a VA quit, so I guess we've been kind of probably doing it right for a while. But yeah, it's a learning curve. You definitely have to have good, basically good processes. Like you can record videos for things, or you can write SOPs for them, and typically they get along. If it's something, one thing that we've been doing is hiring things for things that we don't know. Like I'm not very good at HR. I'll be honest. I suck at it, and I hate it. I mean, I'm a tech guy in the interim. So the last thing I want to do is the people thing. But it's important to other employees that, they're treated fairly. They understand what the job is. They understand what's expected of them, and that they're, fairly compensated. And even the compensation thing, if you treat people fairly, wherever they are, and you're open to, cultural differences, but, you can get a lot of work done. And I mean, everybody kind of has a specialty. Our VAs in the Philippines are really great tech people, really great with numbers. And like I said, most of them have done this remote thing before. So when I'm stuck, I'll ask one of them, like, hey, how do you think we can do this thing? Or, hey, what does it look like for, this other candidate is asking me for XYZ. What do you think of that? Yeah. So we kind of use them as a resource too. So
talk a little bit about how you guys communicate, and, what's that like on a daily basis? I mean, is it are you guys kind of all in different categories, or in your Slack or in your Teams or whatever, or your Google, whatever, or do you have like one that's for everybody, and kind of whatever?
We've kind of got both. We use Slack to communicate mostly. We use Loom if we want to record a video message to them or something along those lines, or like show them how to do something. It's typically broken up like an org chart would be. So we have a department called Growth, and that department covers all of Amazon e-commerce sales, advertising, and new product launches. In that team, we have a product manager in the Philippines that manages like 7 people also in the Philippines under that. One thing that's really important for VAs is to build in a meeting structure. So if your organization is large enough, or your group like Growth is large enough, you make sure that they have team meetings so that they can discuss things amongst themselves. One-on-ones become largely important with VAs so that you can check in once a week. The manager can technically check in once a week with the employee to make sure they're doing, what they need to do, and making sure that they're meeting their KPIs. And, we haven't done it recently, but we're setting up a town hall so that everybody can come together in one kind of meeting and ask, you get, updates on the company. Like, hey, where's Mike? Oh, he's in Colorado for 2 weeks. He's helping out over there. Like typically I wouldn't necessarily send an email out, and maybe, some VA that's doing my video ads in Indonesia is not going to be looking at my calendar. So it's like, oh, okay. Like, he's gone. What's going on? Awareness is like a big thing. Right. They want to know what's going on in the company. They typically are, they're very, the Philippines, they're very, what's the word? They're really interested in your company. They want you to succeed. They want to be successful. They want you to appreciate them. They want to do the things that they need to do so you do appreciate them. So they're it's a hardworking country. And they do want check-ins. I mean, we made the mistake for a while on our early VAs not really checking in, and they were just kind of on a lonely island by themselves. But
siloed.
Siloed. In fact, that's what HR kind of came in and did, is they started to send out surveys like, how do you like working at the company? What do you not like? Kind of like, how was your experience onboarding when you came on? Things like that. So we could get feedback so that we knew how to improve the process. Because maybe, we weren't really clear on something, or maybe they got siloed and nobody talked to them for like 6 months, and they were just sitting there like churning out video ads or something. So,
wow. You mentioned earlier KPIs. What is that, like a goals that you have set for them and that they're meeting, or what is that? What
Key performance indicators. It's kind of along the lines of like, okay, if their normal job is to churn out video ads every day, how many are they expected to turn out?
Sure.
Right. So our girl, she's doing 8 a day. So typically 1 an hour, putting video ads together, adding music, doing that stuff. Our, ads guy might have a KPI that says, within the first 3 months of you specifically working on this account, we need you to get the advertising costs down and sales up by 10% or something along those lines. So,
right. So it's not just necessarily a quota. It could also be, a goal that data will kind of give you the outcome.
Yeah, it's kind of, the KPI is more of like, it might be more of a quota. We also have performance goals.
It can be a quota.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, we also have performance goals, and then we have creative goals too. Like, maybe we want our ad girl to start making Amazon posts, so it's like, okay, your Q2 goal this year is to research good posts, and then by the end of the quarter, make 10 that, get 500 views or something along those lines. So it could be a quota, and it could be, there's things you can't really quota. HR is hard to quota. How do you quota HR?
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, well, let's jump into like kind of some of the things. Now you've basically come. I shared this a little bit a while ago. You've come to kind of be a bridge. Amy's got another week. You came here a week and a day, I guess. You came here yesterday, so you spent yesterday, today. You'll spend tomorrow, and then all next week with her, and then you even got together with Josiah today. For some of his stuff. I'm sure you're going to have one-on-ones with all of our team members to kind of see different things. What are your goals? I know we've talked a lot about it. You've asked me what my goals are, and we can, if those come up, we can talk about those. But what are your goals in coming into a company and helping them potentially get some, some offshore help, or, in a transitional time? When you come in to make your mark design, you see it's in a transition. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
Yeah, the first thing is like kind of the panic of losing somebody. 2 weeks is a really short period of time to offload knowledge, especially for someone that's been here as long as Amy. So, I come in and kind of like, okay, it's going to be okay. And then like my goal really is to understand what like Amy does, understand how it relates to what the rest of the company is doing. Right. Understand, what those tasks are, and really just start to dive into them. I'm kind of more of definitely a planner. So I'm working on putting together a list of tasks that she's currently doing. And then I'm going to distinguish which ones like literally can't be done remotely and which ones can be offshored. So it's kind of like a transitory position between coming in, learning what the person does, temporarily doing that work. So I've got, some of my VAs have time that they can take over some of her tasks. And then ultimately offshoring it to VAs to save money in the long run so that you guys can do other things if you need with that. And really it's just kind of like getting everything organized and figuring out where it fits in. Kind of the processes that I'm looking at for Amy. Some of them she has documented SOPs, some she doesn't. So if she doesn't, what my goal is to write up an SOP so that if I offshore that particular task to, say, an executive assistant in the Philippines, that person can do that task. Like, let's just say, simple one is like payroll, right? Like if you need somebody in the Philippines to run like payroll, this is the system that, you've set up, Travis. This is how it's done. This is how Amy was doing it. And then I'm going to be able to write that SOP, hand it off to that VA once hired in the Philippines, and check that off the list. Okay, that's taken care of. In the interim, I'll do it, or someone from my staff will do it until we find that right fit for that and figure out who that person is. Yeah, it could be the bookkeeper, it could be an executive assistant, it could be, there's a couple different positions that actually could pick that up and do it, but that's just an example.
Right. So how long was the list, and were you surprised by the length?
I'm not actually honest. I'll be honest with you, Travis. Amy is pretty amazing, and I'm sorry you're losing her, because she really, I didn't know. I worked with you a lot, and I think this is probably a good thing. I didn't know what Amy did because it was smooth enough that I didn't need to know. So, she was pretty organized. I don't necessarily think this is going to be super challenging. I think that we're going to be able to take over the tasks. Some of this, there's a cheat code. It's like I ran basically a business just like this. So, I know what the typical tasks are. I know what onboarding should look like and does. I know there's things that pop up in the production environment that need to be handled. But no, honestly, I don't think it's that bad. I think that the biggest challenge is really going to be for you to be okay with what goes offshore and what needs to be done here. So you hire maybe one, part-time person to do some of this, or we try to offshore a lot of it. And maybe somebody like you picks up the, whatever's left. Like onboarding is just typically handing people paper and make sure they fill it out and then give it back. That has to be done in person, but a VA in the Philippines could really like put all those documents together. And, if you had your system set up right, they could literally print from the Philippines, and they'd just be like, it's in your printer, Travis. All you have to do is hand it to the guy that comes through the door. And then, and then they'll follow up and be like, did they sign everything? And then, hey, scan this back, and then it's done. So
send it by fax.
Yeah, everybody's afraid of technology, but I mean, honestly, you can do some amazing things like outside the office that people don't need to be here. It's just a lot of it is getting over that fear of what's this going to look like? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and then the other side of that, I think too, is personally is maintaining kind of a local first presence in the community. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to obviously you can't outsource your production,
right?
Well,
you can. I did, but
yeah, you did. Well, yeah, that's called drop shipping. So I suppose you can, but I mean, for us, we're not, that's one thing that we have to have people here to do. And I don't want to have so few people that aren't doing production that if somebody comes to the door, it feels very, there has to be somebody there that at all times ready to kind of helping somebody answer the phone, talk to a client, all of those things. You want to maintain kind of you are an important part of our business.
Absolutely.
Facing your local clients. And so I don't know that I want to necessarily outsource everything to where it's just me and a bunch of production people, then I can never take a vacation. Then I can, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But to your point, I think there are a lot of things that we probably do that we could outsource. One of them, and not just Amy's job or not just the thing that Amy's doing, but some of the things that maybe some of the other people in our organization are doing, and restructuring some of that to where some of their time is set free. So they're not so stressed out, and going, and I'm thinking of Tate, primarily. He's always running around here like a chicken with his head cut off. And so hopefully one of the things we're trying to do or looking at doing is potentially creating a system to where ordering all of the blanks and all of the all the things that we buy to resell. If that could happen, I think that would be a game changer for him, save him, the stress of knowing that he always has to order. That's, I got to get this order in. I got to get this order in. But then also just the actual time savings is a real thing too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's several other people that we're going to talk to within your organization that, about things like that. Like ordering is a big stress point. The idea here is, let's say that you didn't use offshore, you had no offshore, and maybe you had to hire a bookkeeper to sit here, a salesperson, what else am I missing? HR. So that's 3 US people, a reasonable salary. Let's just say it's $50K a year. That's $150,000 that you would pay for 3 people.
Yeah.
The average salary in the Philippines for those positions would be about $12,000 a year. So $36,000, you could have those 3 people. Now, what could you do with that extra money? You could hire help in the shop, maybe more production people, more sales people.
Hawaii.
Yeah, you could go to Hawaii. I mean, you can offshore all of your tasks. Which is kind of what I did. I mostly offshored myself out of a job, to tell you the truth. But it's great because now I can go out and do other things. Or if I really wanted to work on projects within my Amazon or my printing business, I could. Or if I want to start another company, I have the time now. And that's the idea: is you free up those resources, monetarily, your cash flow, because you can hire and do whatever you want. Sometimes it's a little scary. Like, what am I going to do with this extra money? And you almost have to stop yourself from going and buying like some crazy piece of equipment that maybe you don't really need, but you're going to because you have money. No, you still have to be reasonable with it. But that's the idea: is like you build time out for people like Tate so that Tate can do the things that he's not able to do right now. There's quite a few of those things in every office and in business around the country that, there's always things that people aren't getting to, and maybe it's costing you money in the long run. Like maybe not having 3 salespeople is costing you money, but right now you can't afford it because you have a bookkeeper, HR, and a marketing person on staff, and they're all US based and they're costing a ton of money. So that's the idea: is you offshore to free up time. You offshore to create space for like Tate to really it sounds funny, but you need to create space for your employees to think sometimes too. If they're running 110%, chances are they don't really have time to think through a lot of things. And that's where kind of mistakes can sometimes get made, or, maybe opportunities are missed because they didn't have time to try to test print on that one item, or, maybe they made a mistake and misordered something because they were just so overwhelmed trying to do it fast. So there's a lot of benefits to kind of doing this kind of thing, the offshore thing.
Yeah. Well, Mike, you mentioned a little, I think Travis might've mentioned, you mentioned at the beginning, you're doing what you're doing here is in a consulting capacity. So is this something that you are offering outside of this particular instance? Is this kind of the proof of concept for you? Is it something that you're going to want to offer down the road? Because we've had people ask us a lot in the Facebook group, or there was an iTunes review last week, which we have another one that we'll shout out at the end of this episode. But a lot of people are asking, like, do you guys do consulting? Do you know anyone that does consulting? So is that something that now that you have the time you might kind of pivot and offer more broad?
That's kind of how this came up, is like, I like helping people. So it was like, I offshored myself out of a job in my own business, but the benefit was that I could build and look at building this other consulting type thing. And I already have a lot of resources in my business that maybe aren't working at 100% capacity. So the transitionary temp, just call it the temp period, is something that I could offer too. And then eventually offshoring. So yeah, if anybody, if any of the listeners are looking for someone to come into their business, kind of take a look at their processes, figure out, maybe the ways that can be improved in the office or out of the office or offshored. Yeah, it's definitely something that I'm kind of looking at. I told Travis this when I started. I was like, you're kind of my test bed, but it's kind of familiar too. So it's kind of cool. Like, I know you. Like, I was thinking about that today as I was working with Amy. I was like, this, like when you're sitting there with a brand new employee that's like really overwhelmed and then just got hired and it's like didn't really know what was going on. It's like you wonder how much knowledge they're actually retaining. And I was sitting there thinking like, oh, I got this. But it's because I'm, I've kind of been in each of those kind of seats before. So that's kind of a really like a unique perspective. So this has been comfortable, but I mean,
right.
I know that, for others, it might seem a little daunting, but that's the point of hiring a consultant, is that person can come in, has that background knowledge, has that experience, sometimes even has an outside perspective, like I can come in and be like, that's a little strange to do it that way. Have you considered doing it maybe this way? Or like I told you, Travis, like I'm your consultant. If you want to hear my opinion, or if you want me to make suggestions, I will. If you literally just want me to pick up the task exactly as Amy did it, and do it and then hand it off exactly the same way, I can do that too.
Well, yeah, I just want you to shut up and do your job.
Yeah, exactly. You really just want you want it to be done. Yeah.
No, I was going to say,
You guys are going to unlock the door after this, right? I'm not.
Well,
Maybe we'll see.
We'll see what happens.
I was going to say though that even if somebody wants to, hire you as a consultant, they're going to have to frickin' wait their damn turn because you're with me for 2 to 3 months.
Yeah,
I mean, I do have a counterpart that could potentially do it if necessary. So.
yeah. Well, I think you brought up a good point though, in terms of consulting and inviting fresh eyes to a situation, because I think when you're in the thick of it, you don't have the opportunity to kind of rethink systems, because you're, like you said, when you're running 100 miles an hour, you don't have time to think through a lot of things. And a lot of that might be systems that were put in place in the beginning and you haven't had time to reevaluate them, and they're not actually working for you. You just don't want the in your mind, the idea of refining the process is worse than just dealing with a broken one. But in actuality, taking the time to fix it can actually streamline and make things a lot more efficient. So welcoming in, just know when you're listening, when you welcome in a consultant, you do have to make room for that correction or those ideas that might go against what you have established. But it's totally, because the end game is to improve efficiency. And so it'll be a little bit of a growing pain process and kind of a stretching process. But I think at the end of the day, that's what is needed, is outside perspectives.
Yeah. And like when something doesn't go wrong, you don't realize what's not missing, like in terms of money lost, right? Like you may not even realize you're losing money or you're missing out on an opportunity because you're just like, I'm just going to deal with this thing. And maybe you don't realize how much time it's actually costing you. So,
yeah. I think, I was going to shout out Fiona in the Facebook group, asked based on our conversation last week about like organizing your design files and using SKUs and DIDs and all that stuff. She just asked a question. She's like, this is how I do it. I don't know if I need to change. I don't know. And we had a big, long discussion in there. And Chris Pupke came in there and just left a huge response. And he's done, he basically went through the growing pains of changing from doing it one way to another. Just like we talked about last week, how I started with, Amazon's kind of SKUs that they just give you. And I didn't know what the hell I was doing. If somebody asked for this particular mug, I'd have to go find it somewhere, or this design, until we came into a place where we went through the growing pains to establish a system that works for us. And so that's kind of what we're trying to do now, I think. Obviously, right now at the beginning, it's very important for the knowledge transfer piece to happen and to understand what actually is going on. Yeah. And as those things come, Mike, I'm assuming you're like going, oh, I have a better idea for this, or I have maybe thoughts on this, or a way that we could tweak this to make it a little more efficient. And then after, Amy's actually gone and we're doing the work, that's when we'll jump into kind of some of the improvements that I think you'll have suggestions for. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's already happened. Something she showed me yesterday. I was practicing today and I was like, I think I can do this a little faster maybe. And it might've just been, she didn't have time to kind of work through that. But that's kind of the nice thing about doing the kind of the knowledge transfer into the temp work is like, I'm actually doing the task, and it's kind of just a new perspective on the way it's working. I can improve it, and then I can hand it off so it's even more efficient by the time it gets to whoever's going to do this task in the long run. Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in asking for, help along the lines of anything. I mean, you referenced the Facebook group. That's a good way to get help. Consulting, if you can, if you have the means to do that. I mean, I'm consulting with you, but I brought in my own consultants too. I've, just recently finished up something called EOS, which is like I won't go into it, but it's basically a whole structure for a company to build, to make sure that personnel are in the right seat, that you've got the right person doing the job. One of the big things in it is, do they get it? Do they want it? And are they capable of it? And you do that by a per person basis. And then there's a whole like meeting structure too that makes all of your meetings more efficient. But long story short is like, even I go out and ask for help. I mean, I go out into the Facebook groups, and when I can give back in the Facebook groups, I do. And sometimes it's just like, if you've got a problem, ask for help. If you really think you need help, you can bring in like a consultant.
Yeah, we're in a Facebook chat with a bunch of people that I've gotten a lot of help from. I mean, and sometimes it's just, sometimes those chats can be a little bit distracting because, they're just full of memes and, popping jokes and all that. But sometimes when you have an actual question and somebody has already gone through that, those groups and chats and messengers or messenger chats can really be beneficial. So I totally agree.
A nugget can come out of there that changes your whole business. I mean, I've gone to a trade show and caught something that added 500K that year in sales to my business. It's like, you never know where they're going to come from. They don't necessarily have to come from in here, as a business owner. Like, you might be able to get an idea from somebody else. And a lot of people are willing to like share things and be open. I mean, you've got your, there's always a chance that somebody's kind of closed up and closed box, but I largely think that those people are missing out on a lot of stuff.
I agree.
Giving out and not getting back. Either way, it's like, it's very valuable to be in a consortium of a ton of people that can help you with things like that.
Mm-hmm. Totally. I mean, it's kind of, it's really some of those Facebook groups and, again, our Facebook group, it's kind of free consulting. If you can't afford Mike, ask Mike a question and
tag him in the group and he'll probably answer for free.
And then he'll be forced to answer.
I will.
Social pressure.
I will. And I mean, my print on demand knowledge and business knowledge goes back to like 2006. So I hope you got a minute. If you do ask me something, it's probably going to be a response about that long.
That's awesome.
Or I'll just be like, I don't know, but I'll get back to you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just different levels. I mean, we obviously had a need and had, the finances to make it work to where we could hire him and have him be on site for a season while we move through this transition. And it was, quite frankly, I don't know that I would have been able to get somebody in those 2 weeks, like you said at the beginning of the podcast.
Right.
It's like, crap, what's going to happen when she's gone? Oh boy, we need to get a job ad up right now. And then I just started talking to Mike and I was like, well, what if we had a bridge,
Well, I offered too. Like, I don't even think when you were just,
I wasn't
venting.
I thought
to
you
me
were
when
joking.
And I was like, you know what? I offered. I'm like, well, if you need help, let me know. And then I started thinking, I was like, I don't really have a lot to do, and I've really been thinking about like hanging a shingle, to do this consulting thing, or even anything along those lines. And I was like, I'm actually serious, Travis. If you want my help, I could literally be there as soon as Monday, which would be, in Amy's case, it would have been the first day of her last 2 weeks. So it didn't work out like that, but it probably, I got here Wednesday morning, and that worked out good because Amy had some time to kind of put some stuff together, gather her thoughts, which, like I said earlier, that's really important in anything that you guys work on. It's like, make sure your employees have enough space to put their thoughts together and think, because they might just think you up an idea that makes you a ton of money, or they might just think up, the 95 things that they need to give to you instead of them just working the 2 weeks and then all that knowledge walking out the door. So,
yeah, totally.
That's awesome. Well, Mike, thanks for, not only obviously taking the time to be the bridge over troubled waters.
It's not trouble. I don't think they're trouble.
It's just, what's the other word?
There's like, I don't know, level 3 rapids. How about that?
Slightly turbulent.
But you know what? The raft is decent. We've all got helmets on, and everybody's got a paddle. So like, it's not a horrible thing. At this point, it's just trying to keep everybody rowing in the same direction, and then making sure that nobody drops the paddle. So
we're not whitewater rafting by any means. It's 2022, so just whitewater's not an acceptable term. But we're gonna wrap things up. Mike, thanks for coming on the show and kind of giving us an update. And again, if you guys are interested, those listening, in consultation and you have 3 months to wait so Travis doesn't kill you, and you want to contact Mike and get more information, you can contact him through the Facebook group. But again, if you have a quick question or a small question or whatever question you have, you can also just tag him in the group. That's printondemandcast.com/Facebook is where you can find all of those things. And as always, wherever there are podcasts, the POD cast is there for you. And we have a 5-star review to shout out because we shamelessly solicited all of these 5-star reviews for weeks, and we had a couple come in. So we did one last week, and we're going to show this one this week on the Apple Podcast app, which will always be iTunes as far as I'm concerned. But it is from Tara Dawn. She left it on May 31st, 2022. It's titled, Indeed, It's Tubular. I found you guys this week, and I can't stop binging. This is one of the few places I can go now to get non-regurgitated information. You guys dive into the tiny topics instead of staying broad. Thanks so much for all your hard fun. So I don't really know. Hard fun. Hard work fun. Yes, I understand what she was saying. It's just,
all of the above.
All of it. Yes.
So
thank you so much, Pterodon. And if you guys would like to be shouted out, leave a 5-star review and a comment. We would be happy to read it here on air. You can also review us on the Spotify app. You can't leave a comment yet, but you can just at the top of the feed, hit the star and give us a star rating there as well. Our other social media feeds, printondemandcast.com/Instagram and printondemandcast.com/YouTube is where you can go to get the video versions of these episodes. But if you don't want to wait for the video version, you can just go to Spotify. If you don't want to go to YouTube, if you want to listen on the go and have a video option, Spotify would be where you would go for that as well. But other than that, Travis, am I missing anything? I always think that I am just missing more of the diatribe every time I say it.
The only thing I'd say is, check out printondemandcast.com/shop. Got some funny t-shirts and stuff there. We should probably put some more stuff. We should do a few more things, but that would require work, so we probably won't.
Unless it gets outsourced, and that's why Mike is here. So eventually it'll be a more robust offering. But what kind of print on demand show would we be if we didn't have a print on demand merch store for you guys to purchase things from? So
correct.
Avail yourself of that as well. Again, printondemandcast.com/shop. So until next week, when we resume our POD 101 series of episodes, for Mike, for Travis, I'm Josiah. We'll see you next time right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See you guys.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.